Fighting a demon in the middle of the night is as if you were staring down a barrel of a gun. Something that has such an advantage over you that you frankly have no choice but to choose what you want to do. To choose in a matter of a split second. That's exactly what Tanjiro will always be facing. Will always be facing that barrel of a gun pointed right at his forehead. Tanjiro knows this, and he knows damn well what he needs to do. And with the fight against Rui, one of the 12 Kizuki, even though he's on the lower end, he knows that this fight isn't going to be as easy as all the rest. But nonetheless, he's gonna put that foot forward and push on as hard as possible. So when he draws his blade, dashing toward Rui, immediately challenging him, he realizes that combining these breathing styles all together and perfectly learning everything he knows about swordsmanship will finally come in handy. All of the hard work that people were saying he needed to do because he was such a prodigy, because he had the opportunity to master everything. This is when Tanjiro will truly become a master, when he goes for the neck of one of the 12 Kizuki by the name of Rui. Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me. And I'm back with the final installment of Tanjiro Masters All Breathing Styles. If you enjoy, make sure to leave a like, sub, and all that good stuff, and make sure to check out any of my previous videos. I want to do more Tanjiro What Ifs. I need to do them. Definitely need to do more. But nonetheless, the next What If that will be coming out is probably some Naofumi What If. Not exactly sure what, but I'm still planning on it. Nonetheless, I hope y'all enjoy, and let's just get right into the What If. Let's get it. Tanjiro begins to strike down Rui. Rui, the demon that is currently in front of him. Of course, Rui has power in himself. Has power, has blood demon arts, has anything you could think of. He is, by all means, strong. But Tanjiro refuses to give up, slashing through every single defense you could possibly think of, using a combination of thunder breathing and flame breathing, trying to basically speed up his attacks and unleash everything toward Rui. It doesn't seem like he's outclassed. Tanjiro does feel one thing though, the speed discrepancy. Everything else, he has the up on Rui. It seems that his techniques are just outpacing Rui by a long shot, but it's really the speed that he has as a demon. Tanjiro realizes this and wants to amp up his thunder breathing to a brand new extent, amping it up as fast as possible, feeling his legs tense up, concentrate, and hurt like hell. But nonetheless, he doesn't care. Going bouncing and dashing forward at even faster speeds, he slices toward the neck of Rui. But just as he slices into his neck, he can feel that Rui is severing his own neck. It seems as if this won't matter. But just as he slices through, Tanjiro backs up with another big speed boost using thunder breathing and immediately unleashes something that is just outstanding. He begins to summon a form from flame breathing called Flame Tiger. But on top of that, he is combining it with a various amounts of other breathing styles, making this tiger be extremely potent, slinging it toward Rui as Rui tries to attach his head. But just as that flame tiger basically strikes into Rui, Tanjiro is there to follow up with his last bit of power from his Godspeed thunder breathing style, slicing into Rui's neck once again as the flame tiger overwhelms both of them, slicing it straight off as it instantly disintegrates Rui entirely. Tanjiro has done it. He's killed one of the 12 Kizuki and was able to get a sliver, just a little bit of blood, after basically injecting a almost disintegrated leg that Rui had left over. Luckily, getting that to Lady Tamiya will be something of high importance, but he's kind of out of commission, exhausted. He maybe didn't need that much power behind what he just did, but at the end of the day, he needs to figure out how to amp up his speed, use thunder breathing, master it entirely. This new thing he added, this wasn't something he even knew about initially. So he wants to utilize the speed of thunder breathing. That's his goal. If he can utilize the speed of thunder breathing at a constant rate, then all of this will be so much easier. the speed that demons work at are unholy. They're something that a human cannot obtain. But if he's in a constant state of thunder breathing, he'll be able to extend himself at insane speeds using various other forms, because that is what matters in terms of this fight. His raw strength, his power, his techniques are there, just his speed isn't. So that's what he wants to work on. Yes, he's thinking about this as he's collapsed on the ground, staring at the sky. But nonetheless, other demon slayers and the other people there group around Tanjiro and take him away. The rehabilitation process for Tanjiro begins. At the end of the day, he is extremely hurt, at least in terms of his legs. He overused thunder breathing by a long shot, but his recovery process won't be that long. His basically breathing techniques help him in that. He has very good control over his breathing, especially. But nonetheless, about 2 to 3 weeks pass and he's fully recovered. Way faster than Zenitsu and Inosuke in this, reality. Tanjiro then begins his training once again, asking the other Hashira for assistance as well. He wants to be able to control thunder breathing to the point that he can utilize it no matter what, and he begins trying to do this, and he can see his speed ramp up more and more, in which they do say that if he focuses on one breathing style, that he should be able to ramp up his speed no matter what. But they do agree. It seems that thunder breathing has this burst of speed that the other breathing styles just don't necessarily have. But still, this should be extremely beneficial for Tanjiro. So during his rehab and basically getting back to tip-top shape, Tanjiro focuses on thunder breathing. Yes, he's mastered the original techniques, but he can master even more, add on to anything. A master can always create more and more techniques, and he eventually creates this constant and static motion. It's this form that was unknown, and something that he wants to even show to Zenitsu. It's utilizing basically thunder breathing for a long period of time, increasing your tangibles, increasing your speed tenfold. Every step he takes is as if it was a giant leap. He realizes how beneficial this will be in a fight with a demon that could be extremely fast. He never truly knows. And after a while, Inosuke and Zenitsu are finally ready to start their rehabilitation, in which they do struggle with the idea of basically training back up, and they're kind of down in the dumps. But nonetheless, Tanjiro is able to get them out of that. Tanjiro is able to help them and learn more and more, even helping Zenitsu in learning this technique that Tanjiro now knows. Zenitsu, of course, struggles with this. He's never been good at learning more and more like this, but still, it's beneficial for Zenitsu to slowly but surely learn. Tanjiro helps train Inosuke and Zenitsu, learning more and more about this beast breathing. Of course, he did quote-unquote master it, but frankly, he had one day to look at all of his techniques. But now he knows practically all of them entirely, and master them flawlessly as well, in which Inosuke is pretty mad about, saying that he'll never show his beast techniques again. But Tanjiro says that it doesn't necessarily matter when he's already memorized them. But nonetheless, he can do what he wants. Inosuke and Zenitsu continue on with their training to get stronger and stronger, and of course Tanjiro wants to stay in on this. He'll take any extra training he can get, eventually learning of Rengoku leaving. Let Rengoku heading off to this Mujin train to seek out this demon of some sorts. But as a couple days pass, notice from a crow would come to him, and notice from a crow would tell him that Rengoku would need help just to make sure that the entire area is secure after he defeats one of the Kizuki that are there. So Tanjiro decides to take it upon himself. He's extremely fast, so he'll head over to that area because he assumes that Rengoku will finish off that 12 Kizuki that he's fighting, or one of the 12 Kizuki that he's fighting currently, by the name of Enmu. But just as Tanjiro is arriving, he sees that the train is entirely stopped and Rengoku is helping everybody out. But there's one eerie, very eerie sense that he begins to take, and just as he's fully arriving and walking up toward Rengoku, a fight breaks out between Akaza and Rengoku himself. Tanjiro begins to run over at insane speeds, dashing in so fast that both Rengoku and Akaza could not see him, slicing toward Akaza, landing a clean blow on one of his arms, giving an opening for Rengoku to slice toward his neck. But unfortunately, that wasn't good enough. Akaza is able to regenerate at insane speed, turning the tide of the battle right back to himself in a matter of seconds. He's able to parry Rengoku, landing a crucial blow sending him backwards. Tanjiro turns as Akaza is right in front of him, blocking the blow that Akaza sends toward him, and Tanjiro is able to dash toward him once again, closing any distance between them in a matter of a millisecond. The thunder breathing constant that he's running through his veins, his legs, his arms, everything is something that is definitely benefiting him. He begins using anything he can possibly think of, anything that could stop him, can stop Akaza. And in a last-ditch effort, he decides something. He decides that he's going to pull something out that may or may not work, that this is all experimental. He decides to utilize thunder breathing to the point that he is hyperspeed as fast as possible, speeding up to an extent that may or may not hurt him. But on top of that, he's going to use a technique that only Tomioka, well, and I guess him now, knows in water breathing. He begins to use a technique called dead calm. Dead calm basically drops his heart rate to extremely slow rates, about 50 beats per minute, meaning that this is very unsafe for Tanjiro. And the idea is that this should give him the advantage, speeding up his attacks immensely, but blocking the mass majority of attacks coming from Akaza himself. Tanjiro dashes in, and he can clearly see that he begins to put Akaza on the back foot. He puts him on the back foot, but that's not good enough when you're fighting a gun, when you're fighting a loaded bullet that is coming towards your head that is inevitable to hit. Tanjiro knows that fighting Akaza at night, being as strong as he is, he'll need to grant himself a giant opening, an opening that he cannot miss. Tanjiro begins to break that opening free, slicing both of Akaza's arms off, and Akaza panics slightly, trying to regenerate. Tanjiro then appears behind him, going for his neck, slicing into it, but it only goes halfway through. His body begins to panic. His body begins to atrophy in a way. It seems that he's running out of time at immense speeds. His idea was that dead calm would drop his heart rate, but he would be able to speed up his actions using thunder breathing. But this is extremely counterproductive and would only happen for a short amount of time. The idea was that maybe it would shock his heart back to normal heart rate if need be. But the dead calm and the thunder breathing is clashing with each other currently and destroying his body from the inside out. But as he begins to push more and more, his sword begins to light ablaze. But this blaze was different. The blaze that he was seeing was far different. It was burning like the sun. Something that he knew he had and something he mastered a long time ago, but he didn't utilize as much. He didn't utilize it as much because he felt the utility behind it was nothing. But he truly didn't know how chaotic, how strong sun breathing would surely be if used properly. So right when he slashes into Akaza's neck more and more, it lights ablaze and begins to obliterate through. And it begins to slowly but surely slice through Akaza. Akaza doesn't understand. How is he doing this? He's just a kid. How is he able to? Just as Akaza is regarding this, he sees flashes in his own mind, but these are not his own memories. Whose memories are these? He realizes these are Muzan's memories. Memories of a boy like this, but different. Tanjiro reminds him of somebody. Reminds him of a man. A man by the name of Yorichi. A man that was so powerful that it brought Muzan to the edge of death. So, that's the memory he's seeing, just as his life is being flashed before him. Akaza brings every last bit of himself to try and take Tanjiro with him, trying to punch a hole through Tanjiro's chest just as quick as he's about to die. But just as he's about to do that and throwing that fist, Rengoku grabs his arm, not allowing him to do so, and kicking him toward Tanjiro's blade as the flames erupt like crazy, as if there was a giant sun sitting on top of them. His blade went clean through Akaza, and his neck and his head falls to the ground. But just as that occurs, Akaza begins to still move around in his headless body. His body begins to spaz out as if it was growing his head back. But just as they thought they were seeing the impossible, just as they thought that that was the case, that he was going to ascend even further and lose one of his ways of dying, his body began to deteriorate and disappear. Tanjiro and Rengoku have defeated Akaza, one of the strongest of the Kizuki. Word gets around like wildfire. Everybody hears about it, and hears about it extremely quickly. Rengoku carries Tanjiro back up to the Hashira mansion. Frankly, Tanjiro is, let's just say, extremely exhausted after everything he just put his body through, and he needs some recovery time. But it is announced that Tanjiro will be the next Hashira. He'll be added. They're not so sure what to call him. He's a master of all the breathing styles, so what kind of Hashira would he be? So they decide that they'll call him the Uni Hashira, a master of all the breathing styles, to the point that he was able to make every last one of them into one breathing style itself. A breathing style that could utilize every aspect of every style known to man. But nonetheless, that's what Tanjiro is now. After some recovery time, he decides that he's going to begin training Inosuke, Zenitsu, and anybody else, any other demon slayers he possibly can, in learning their styles even deeper, knowing exactly the ins and outs. And that is exactly what he begins doing. That's his job. That's the main thing he wants to do. So when it comes around that Tengen has a mission, Tanjiro will not be going on it, but a Zenitsu and Inosuke will. Both of them are far more prepared, far stronger. Zenitsu being on a whole nother level compared to what he was even before. Same thing with Inosuke. So will Tanjiro be needed in a fight? In that fight? Well, with a Hashira as well as two other up and coming extremely strong demon slayers, I would say no. So Tanjiro stays back to teach more and more of the new generations of demon slayers in their hope that they can take down the Demon King himself, the man that has been stalking them forever, the man that now feels threatened at the fact that Akaza has now fallen. His third strongest demon has fallen to someone that has just become a Hashira. This feels as if it was history writing itself once again, that Yoriichi was back alive, but in a whole new way. Yoriichi was someone else, something else. Tanjiro Kamado is that something else, and he is the uni-breathing Hashira, and he will soon find his blade on the neck of Muzan Kibutsushi. And that is a wrap. That is a wrap. I didn't really want to force this last arc. I mean, that's why I kind of had that little bit there where I was talking about it. I tried to keep it in story format the best I possibly could, but yeah, I just don't see any need for Tanjiro to go to the entertainment district. For one, it would be a wash. Secondly, it doesn't really matter. He's a Hashira now, so he has other business to do, and I feel like this fits Tanjiro's personality. Being the master of all breathing styles, you can definitely argue that he'd be just teaching people how to utilize their breathing styles even more. And I don't go into manga when I do this. If you guys really want to see manga, like, blow this video up and I'll go into manga, but normally I don't go into manga. But the idea is that Tanjiro would probably make everybody around him that much stronger, and I feel like a lot of you can also assume that. Nonetheless, I hope y'all enjoyed this ending to this What If. Really love my Tanjiro What Ifs. I really love Tanjiro What Ifs in general, because I don't know, it's nostalgic. I haven't done them in a while, and I feel like every time I go back to them, I'm always like, wow, like this was pretty fun. It just has to be that certain idea, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's about it. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all of y'all have an amazing day. Yep, later.
what's left.